I mean, I was talking about time zones, but I think it's probably a good idea.
Wait,
Oh, did you not mute? Oh, you muted me. Oh, I
I
thought.
didn't mute you.
Oh,
I don't think.
oh,
I think I'm muted.
oh, I probably had the good sense to not continue my tirade.
Yeah, I didn't hear anybody.
No, you're muting yourself. You know
I'm
you're
muting.
doing that.
Oh, I just muted myself then. No, I think I'm having USB issues with my mic, which is probably good for the day we're doing this on,
Wait, why is that?
because it's the 9th episode of Snoofbox.
And that's a perfect segue. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of this. We chatterbox about things that we just want to talk about. We are some nobodies plus. My name is Zach. This is Dylan down here. And over with us is special guest, Mr. Michael Colby, who, we've been texting him this whole... Oh, I'm sorry. You can...
Reasonable.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I love that.
He's like a balloon.
That's what we missed last week. If you didn't catch us last week, Michael Colby was not here, nor was he singing, and that's upset. How are you gentlemen doing? Michael?
My existence continues on the physical plane.
You are existing. We love
that. You know what? I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it? No.
No.
We are doing this today instead of paying attention to anything else because currently we're hopeful, but also a little scared. I'm a little scared. I was telling people earlier, I was like, tomorrow is going to be either batshit crazy or boring. And honestly, I'm okay with boring. Like
I would rather love boring. Oh my god.
The call was not coming from inside the house. Yes.
Yeah, boring would be so good. And I was watching John Oliver on HBO, and he was like, the whole point is that, like, unfortunately, the things that Trump does, it's sad because of who he could be being in charge, but it's also unfortunately sometimes just very funny. Like when he falls in the garbage truck, or he looks just ridiculous. Like, it's kind of funny, but at the time, it's also just terribly scary because of what he can do. And the point of what John Oliver was saying was that if he, if Trump doesn't win, then that's obviously good on many, many levels. But one of them is the fact that he could just go back to being a funny old man. Because if you think of anything else that he does, if he's just an old man, nobody gives a shit. Yeah. Like every like, oh, shut up.
I've said the main reason, not the main reason, as hyperbole, the main reason that I'm mad at Trump is because he did the funniest thing I've ever seen without trying. I am a person who works really hard on writing jokes and writing perfect jokes. And this man, this almost 80-year-old fat man who has never done a thing in his life, made millions of dollars selling trading cards of himself as an astronaut and a cowboy and a race car driver. And it's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Yep.
And I'm so mad that he's the one who did it, and he did it without trying.
Yeah.
Michael, there's nothing stopping you from doing Jack Billings trading cards.
No, there's not. But it wouldn't be as funny because I'm not a fat old loser president.
Yeah.
It is a good idea for the next season of Jack Billings, where this episode is the Big House. Next episode, the White House.
White House.
Jack Billings, king of the White. Oh my God, Jack Billings is the president of the United States,
and it's only because of chain of succession. It got all the way down to him.
It's a designated survivor thing.
This rules. It's like a King Ralph situation.
Yeah.
For all of you watching who are 100 years old like I am, you'll understand that King Ralph reference.
Honestly, it's in the top 12 John Goodman performances. So
I agree. John Goodman,
as the youngest man on this podcast by at least a decade, I've never heard of it.
It's John Goodman, and he becomes King of England by chain of command.
Also,
and it's great.
Also, he loves bubble baths. That dude loves bubble baths.
It's second only to his performance in Arachnophobia.
Yeah. No, I will agree with that. Okay, let's get into what we're getting into. Because we're talking about Trump, obviously, it's a great segue. We got to get back into where is this button? And this is wow, what the wrong button I pressed. But it worked enough that I kept it going because I didn't know what the end of that sound was.
It was like the Jaws theme, but with farts.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen,
Which
just
is appropriate.
for the record, it says dramatic sting, right?
It says what?
Dramatic sting. And I'm like, that is nowhere near a dramatic sting. That's what I meant to hit.
That's more a dramatic sting,
Yeah.
I think.
Obviously, now that I'm like editing these, let's just do that again. And okay, it's time for this week's edition of Okay, so if you play the same sound twice in a row, it actually pauses and then plays where you left off. And I left off at the very end, and it didn't. Cinematic stinkers.
There we go.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Cinematic Stinkers. This is a show where we take a deep dive into all the weird and wonderful moments that make cinema so unforgettable. I'm your host. My name is Zach, and today we're just gonna say, let's get down to the down and dirty. We're talking about pooping scenes in movies. That's right. You heard me right. Once again, we're gonna be talking about two very different, very memorable scenes, and where, quite frankly, characters find themselves in compromising bathroom situations. Now, I know this might sound like a bit of a weird topic, but these moments, however awkward, gross, or bizarre, they often stick with us. They can be hilarious, uncomfortable, or even surprisingly profound. So let's get into it. We each picked two of our favorite cinematic poop performances, as Michael Colby coined earlier, poop performances, and we want to discuss it. We found out in all of our hours, if you don't know the real boys, hours spent watching absolute shit movies. And what turns out is that even when things are the shittiest, there's subtext, there's drama, there's tension, there's passion. So I have my friends bring up their favorite poop movies, and we want to talk about it. We want to get into it. So obviously first, this is one of my favorites. I'm just not even going to introduce it. Let's just get into it. Okay. Now, obviously, Dumb and Dumber, one of possibly the funniest movies that had come out the year that it came out.
Okay.
For the most part, stands up, especially this scene. Now, the thing I want to talk to you, gentlemen, about this in this scene is the passion that Jeff Daniels brings to this character. And this scene was actually improv. He didn't even know that there was anything poop related. He just thought that this was a funny thing. And if you don't know, in Dumb and Dumber, originally the role of I forget his name, but Jeff Daniels was actually offered to Nicolas Cage first, and Nicolas Cage, and this is true. Nicolas Cage actually turned down the role because he wanted $25,000 more that was offered to him, and they offered it to Jeff Daniels instead, knowing Jeff Daniels was going to say no to prove to Nicolas Cage that he should do this, and Jeff Daniels accepted it, and it was a significantly lower thing. But this is the kind of thing that it brings into. So normally we talk about these scenes afterwards. Like we play the scene, then we talk about it for hours. Do you want to play all these scenes in a row and try to pick out our favorites, or do you want to really just get down to the dirty?
I I think we should
for it,
watch
Michael.
all of them. I want to
Okay.
see all the pooping.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
We might as well get this video taken down for playing a shitload of clips.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna re-upload it reversed because I
Okay.
think you can do that now.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I found out. Here's the scene that Michael Colby brought in. This is from one of his favorite movies, Accident Man.
What are you doing? You shut up. You what the you toma de la misericordia. God, Jesus. I'm sorry for every bad thing I ever
To stop that one right there. I was about to get too gross. But that was actually the end of the pooping scene anyway. And then from 2022, Dylan, one of his favorite films of that year. Now, this is one of the first pandemic films that we watched together. This is from The Bubble.
Resign. Mother. I really don't want to. So I'm not supposed to be here. Where do I hold? Okay. Okay. No.
Okay, guys, listen up. We've got some very important health news for
That was Mr. Fantastic himself, Pedro Pascal. Here's my next favorite clip from a movie that I absolutely hate, but I do watch this clip multiple times a week.
Are you gonna throw up?
No, I can't.
Here. Just take this just in case.
No, I'm one of those people who could never throw up.
Yeah.
I wish I could throw up. I know it would help.
Quickie. A quickie, but a good one. And here's the next one from Mr. Michael Colby. This is obviously from one of his favorite films, Dead Girl. I do some quick editing on that one. Didn't want to get copywritten strike for that. And finally, Dylan's film, which he does not shut up about. If you ever follow Dylan on X, this guy nonstop is a Mr. Vampire fan.
所以他会追着你咬，到时候我们同心合力把他牙拔出来，磨成粉喂你喝，以毒攻毒就会没事儿。好，就照你这么做。卫兵有，今天晚上如果我先出来，就天下太平；如果他们这3个家伙先出来，就格杀勿论。是。厕所在哪儿啊？哦。师傅，出去啊！好小子！哦呦！哦，有戏看喽！哎呀，一定是刚刚的耍心眼。
Obviously, that one goes on for minutes.
It's my number 1, number 2 film moment.
Yeah. It's a solid number 2 movement. I like that. Now, Dylan, you purposefully asked me to not do the subtitles because you wanted to let everyone know what this meant to you in your own words, not the words of the creator.
I think.
Mhm.
Did I? Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Yes. Yes. Of
I mean,
course.
I can put this text up on screen if you just give me.
That's
like,
okay.
3. Okay.
Oh, so right now. I thought you had more. I'm sorry. It's just the way it's shot. Really, it's the directing. The cinematography sees on screen is really impressive.
Yeah, that's true. Now, Michael Colby, in Accident Man, which is Scott Ackerman's, what he said is one of his favorite roles of all time. That's from Avengement. We also know him from the Doctor Strange movie. Now, what was it about this movie that really stuck out to you as a movie that you think deserves more people to watch? Just the defecation scene alone.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I love the way that in these poop scenes, they use the same Foley. All of the sound effects, the gurgling, the splattering, all the same, exactly the same. Everybody acts like they're bracing for something. It's so funny every time. And anyone can do it. Like, you can have the worst actor in the world and they can do one of these pooping scenes. And I think it's fantastic. I think it opposite separates the wheat from the chaff. It like really
Coagulates.
evens the playing field for everyone.
Yeah.
This one in particular, I mean, one of my favorite movies. I've seen that movie so many times. But like my VHS of that, I wore out that part where they were pooping because of how many times I just watched it.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, I transfer all of my movies onto VHS tape because I think that's the most pure way to watch a movie.
It's the easiest way to
VHS. Yeah.
It is the easiest way to wear it out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It feels like cheating if you can't wear out like a part of a movie where somebody's shitting all over the place, or like, you know, if you can't wear out where you see Shannon Tweed's tits in a movie, like what's even the point of watching it?
I don't know.
Then, you know, when you play it for other people in your house, then they know what part you watch the most.
Yeah.
I think that's an important part of watching movies. You know, when you watch Shannon Tweed movies with your friends.
Yeah. And the best part that you want to see is just wore out. And they look at you and they're like, you wore that out.
Yeah. I know what you were doing when you were watching that part.
Yeah.
I rented this from Blockbuster.
And it was worn out.
It was probably already worn out because I made it my mission to find every copy of this movie and wear out that.
Well, you don't tell them how often you rent it.
No, no, and you can't. I don't legally you can't. Which is fine. All right. Well, that was this week's episode of. Hey, what's that button?
You got me. I jumped.
Oh, there it is. Cinematic stickers. God, I need like a second person to just do the sound effects. There's too much scrolling involved just to find a couple stupid sound.
What
cues.
you need is one of those mixers that has the buttons already on it. You need a nice Rodecaster Pro.
Oh, dude, I would love a nice Procaster Rode. Anyway,
my favorite Mad Max movie.
Yeah,
word out.
Yeah, we're gonna cut that short because it is election day and we got a lot of things to talk about. But other than the election, what are you guys watching? Michael Colby, are you watching anything? You playing anything?
Yes, I watched and played things. Which one do you want to hear about first?
Not watch. What's played first?
Oh, well, the thing I've been playing is, you know, the game Vampire Survivors.
No.
It's a I call them ass games, auto shooter survival games. Your weapons go off on their own, and all you have to do is make sure you're managing your weapons properly and walk around. Vampire Survivors is not the first one, but it's the most famous one. Famously stolen assets from old Castlevania games. And now they finally got Konami's blessing to do an actual Castlevania expansion, and it has all of the characters from all of the games doing all the Castlevania stuff, and it is so fun.
I've heard them called bullet heavens as opposed to bullet hells.
I don't like the term bullet heaven because it doesn't explain what the game does to somebody who doesn't know. Like bullet heaven, sure. But also, if you said bullet heaven to somebody who did, if you said it to Zach, he would give you that face that he's making right now.
It's a bit of a hobbyist term. Yeah. I'll agree with that.
Is it rogue-like?
It is a roguelike. So when you die, like you keep your coins and then you can upgrade your characters. And yeah, it is very much one of those. But I also don't like the term roguelike because if somebody doesn't know what rogue is, then they're not going to understand what a roguelike is.
At that point, it's just the odds that they know what the word rogue is in that context also don't matter. It becomes a title. It just becomes a buzzword, you know?
Yeah.
What is roguelike? What does that mean, Dylan?
So there was a very old game in the 80s called Rogue, and the idea was you are a ne'er-do-well kind of diving into a dungeon, and it's top down and super old school lo-fi graphics, ASCII art kind of. And when you die, you restart completely. Nothing is passed on. It's very difficult, intentionally so. Like it's very, very complex and difficult. And the idea is you just go and you try to get to the bottom of the dungeon, loot everything, and get out. That's the entire game. And then there was, I think Angbad was the next one, and then NetHack.
Net.//hack.
Yes, and that was kind of the one that made everybody play rogue likes, because I think there's been a corruption of the term.
And then there's roguelites,
which is what most of these are, because Rogue did not have most games nowadays that are called roguelikes have moderate difficulty, some sort of skill and character selection. You are diving into a dungeon to loot stuff and get items and increase your powers, and there's some sort of progression. You die, depending on what you did, you get some sort of meta currency that you can spend to make your next character more powerful as you go on. So, like, Enter the Gungeon is one.
Rogue Legacy is the best
Rogue
one.
Legacy, I did not enjoy Rogue Legacy.
Oh, I love Rogue Legacy.
It did not work for me. Dead Cells was the one that I got super into for a long time.
Dead Cells really good.
Heat Signature is really good. Heat Signature is a really... And then the one that most people nowadays are going to immediately identify is Hades. Hades was kind of... Bastion is technically a roguelike. All of those Supergiant... all those Supergiant games are roguelikes. But super pedantic people will say they're not like Rogue because Rogue had no progression. You died and you restarted and there was no meta currency. But most roguelikes nowadays, you die, you spend your meta coin on like next run, you get 5 more starting health. Kind of like slowly get better. So crash course on roguelikes.
Kind of cool. Well, Michael, what are you watching then?
I watched a movie called Prisoners of Ghost Town. It is a post-apocalyptic...
Is that the Nick Cage one?
It is a post-apocalyptic Nicolas Cage movie. And
Prisoners
it is...
Ghostland?
Prisoners of Ghostland? Prisoners of Ghost Town? Prisoners of Ghost...
Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Yeah.
It is so weird. It's not a weird story. It's a pretty standard hero's journey tale, but it's told in the absolute weirdest way you could possibly do something like that. And if you want to watch a movie where at some point Nicolas Cage yells, Testicle.
All right.
I'm not going to tell you why he yells that, but it's fantastic and so weird, and it's one of those where like they build up the world to a point where when something like wild happens, you're just like, oh yeah, of course, no problem. And yeah, so he has to rescue this girl to get out of prison, and it's your standard Nicolas Cage. He did something bad, but he was like forced into it because he's actually a good guy. You know how Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
It's one of those. But
outside of long legs, that's his role a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most visually interesting movies I've ever seen.
Cool. What's that on? What'd you watch it on?
I think is what we watched it on.
Yeah, right on. I love that every time you turn on like a new streaming service, there's a commercial or like a poster for a Nicolas Cage movie that you've never heard of before.
Make that money.
And recently, Nicolas Cage has been in a lot of stinkers.
Yeah.
And sometimes he phones it in and he's not great. But recently, he's been in a bunch of the weirdest movies you've ever seen, and he is fantastic in them. Like this thing and Devil's Advocate was really good.
Wait, what's Devil's Advocate?
It's mostly takes place in a car and a diner with Nicolas Cage and one other dude.
Oh, weird. I thought that was an Al Pacino Keanu Reeves movie.
I think it's called Devil's Advocate.
There was a Al Pacino Keanu Reeves movie back in like the 90s.
Yeah.
And that is a bad movie.
It's not very bad.
It's 90s legal churn. I don't know. Like
with the devil. Like Al Pacino is the devil with the cool moving.
He's the literal devil.
And he's got that cool
it's called Sympathy for the Devil.
That's a Rolling Stone song.
Yes.
Sympathy for Mr. Clean?
Oh, they finally made a video for that song, huh? Nice.
Yeah.
What would you say? What's your least favorite Nicolas Cage like performance? Michael, you've seen a lot of Cage.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a performance that I'm having a hard time because I know I've seen them, but like anything that's popping out right now is like Face Off and Ghost Rider, which is amazing.
Yeah,
and anybody who says that Ghost Rider doesn't rule is wrong because Ghost Rider is awesome.
Yeah, you piss fire. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, Raising Arizona, and
right, like I'm gonna change the question.
Air.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna change the question. What is your least favorite Nicolas Cage wig? Because every movie comes with a wig.
It's got to be American Treasure 2, right?
I don't know. I hate the one from Next. Remember that one where he had like
Next
that?
Is,
it was almost
I have a soft spot for Next. It's a Dylan and his dad movie.
Oh, that's cute.
I think
bad
Rock,
wig.
I think The Rock looked bad. I think the wig in The Rock looked bad, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah, it was
I
subtle.
think Connery's wig looked bad in that too. I think it was just a movie where they spent too much money, and then by the time they got to the wig department, they were just like, we're gonna have to get these at Halloween Adventure.
I mean, we can all agree the best Nick Cage hair is
long legs.
Con Air.
Oh, Con Air. I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, Con Air. No, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, it has to be.
I was also thinking that actually probably Ghost Rider 1, young Johnny has a very bad, I think it's like blonde, like a blonde, maybe flat top or something. It looked very bad. But I think I'm now that I think about it, I'm gonna spend some more time looking at all the wigs and maybe we'll make a show about that. Dylan, what are you watching or playing right now?
I'm playing a lot of Space Station 13. It's a hyper niche game on the Beyond Network, which is this hacksaw
Jim Duggan
platform where it's like an open source code base that people can program their own MMOs onto. And they're all sprite based and they're all super cheap and really lo-fi. but Space Station 13's been going for like 15, 20 years now. And everybody, they're like 90-minute rounds, and you log in and you get a job on the space station. You have access to certain wings, and everybody there's like a chain of command. So you can log on. I was the bartender earlier, and a gunfight broke out between like antagonistic forces in the bar, and I had to like duck down with my riot shotgun. I've played ones where I was the gang leader, and we set up in the barber shop, and we became like we all wore barber suits and got into fights with other gangs. Like, it's very fun. It's very chaotic. It's one of those emergent gameplay games, which is hyper complex, and it takes a wiki in the other window to play and shit like that.
Yeah.
That's been a nice little social outlet because everybody on the server is a real person. And then I'm reading A Country of Ghosts by Margaret Killjoy.
A Country of Ghosts.
A Country of Ghosts. It is an anarchist fantasy book. It is overtly written and published with no digital rights management. It is put out by an anarchist press.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about it's like this industrial fantasy setting where a journalist is sent to the front, where he's tasked to write a story about like this general leading this campaign in the mountains. And the journalist gets taken in by these like mountain dwelling kind of South American style anarchists. And it's an exploration of what an anarchist society would actually function as. And it's very overtly anti-colonialist, and it's very overtly anti-imperial, and it's very utopian anarchist, and it's a fascinating read. It's very good. I'm really enjoying it, and it's moderately preachy, which is what you have to do if you're doing that sort of thing. But it reminds me of Ursula K. Le Guin and Octavia Butler, which are some really heavyweight names to throw around. But I would recommend it to anyone who wants to read a fantasy novel. It's only 200 pages. It is not, and it's a quick read. It's a small book, like smaller than normal paperback.
Yeah.
Hard recommend. Definitely recommend it.
Right on. Hey, have you ever heard of a book called, or I guess a series maybe, called A Song of Chaos?
No,
it's a Dragon Rider series. I work.
Is it Fourth Wing?
No, I think it's a first wing. I don't know. What is it? What's Fourth Wing?
Fourth Wing is like a young
perspective.
adult. It's a Dragon Rider series for young adults, and it's kind of smutty.
Then it's very similar to that.
Okay, it's because Fourth Wing is a parallel to like what's ACOTAR stand for? A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is another slightly young adult. That's fairy smut, but whatever.
Yeah, at the restaurant I work, the dish guy who has like maybe 3 different We the People tattoos, he's like, "You're a nerd, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And
classic opener.
Yeah, and he's like, "I've been listening to this. It's a book called Song of Chaos. Do you know it?" And I'm like, "No, I'll check it out." And apparently it's like a YA. I was curious if you knew anything about it, whether it was worth like my time. But I think that it's a kind of a How to Train Your Dragon meets Aragon kind of thing. But the dragon's blind, so that's probably cool. I don't know.
Neat.
Yeah.
The only Dragon Rider series I've really read, and I'm not going to count Game of Thrones because it doesn't get to it.
That's not Dragon Rider.
It's not Dragon Rider.
No.
There was one called Dragon Sea way long ago by a Chinese author. It's pretty good. It does it has like Monkey is a character, like the Monkey King's a character in it.
Mm-hmm.
I read the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik.
Mm-hmm.
It is an alternate history where dragons exist and are used as the Air Force during the Napoleonic War. And the main character gets like a Chinese dragon egg that's like a super rare breed that can do like sonic attacks and shit. And it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's fun. They're all light reads. It does some pretty good stuff in there. I never finished it.
Michael, have you ever thought about alternate history style stuff in any of the comedy stuff that you write or anything you write?
Well, everything we write is kind of alternate history. So,
well, I mean, you write stuff as more fiction. Like I'm saying, like rewriting actual history and then setting a story in that, I guess, is more what I'm talking about.
Here's the thing about that. That requires research and knowledge of actual history, and that's too much work. I would rather just take a separate reality and just make everything up whole cloth.
Yeah. So
It's hard enough. It's hard enough to write as it is without having to research something that actually happened first.
Yeah. If you had any of your projects that could be an ARG, which one would you like it to be?
An ARG obviously stands for
augmented reality game.
Okay. So like if I was gonna write like a Pokemon Go, is that what you're saying?
Well, like if like to me, what augmented reality is kind of like when like the story that you're working on gets in different medias, like a website pops up that gives people like idea of what's going on, and then there's like you have like a business card or something that people can see. Like Gravity Falls is very famous for doing that, like bringing their characters into the real life somehow to give people like more of an experience on
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I would actually really like to do that. Like we've talked about on the show doing like Jack writes a comic book. And we were like, all right, well, let's write this comic book and then we can put that out.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff sounds really cool. But also then I think about how the Matrix did that. And then like people were missing huge chunks of story because they didn't read the comics, or they didn't play the video game, or they didn't watch the cartoon movie that came out, or like all of this stuff. And then it's like, it's really cool in theory, but then you have like 5 people in the entire world who know everything that's going on. And then you're doing a lot of work for like very few people, which is fine. I don't mind doing that, but like we're already doing a lot of work for a few people.
Well, I mean, don't you kind of see it as either capturing like a different form of a market that gets additional information more than creating like, so when we were doing Silicon Angels, like one of the things that I was really pushing was that the guy who found Silicon Angels had to be a real person, and they had a job, and they had a YouTube channel and a social media presence, and then they stumbled into this thing, and that was the podcast that was Silicon Angels. And I think that what I was really trying to do was to get that ARG feel where you can almost find the content in different ways, and then it all leads back to something. I don't know. Maybe am I getting ARG wrong, Dylan?
That augmented reality game, I think closer to, at this time, it's closer to Pokemon Go.
So like when like the Batman came out and people could like see certain things, and they found like a QR code that was like in the raindrops of the one poster. And when you went to that code, it was like the GCPD. And then if you could like hack that website, that gave you like a piece of a picture to something else. And then if you like read this one, you know, like I guess it's maybe that's just not ARG so much anymore. I think that's more like virtual reality gaming, kind of.
Well, there's ARG has been used to mean a few different things.
Oh, okay.
Like it's augmented reality, and then there's also like it's like not alternate reality, but some other like what you're talking about was used for ARG as well in the past.
Yeah. Like if you watch this one episode of Gravity Falls and you figured the right thing out, it would actually take you to coordinates in like Portland where there was a Bill statue. And if you looked under that statue, you would find like this key, and this key thing had something, or if you like shook his hand, then you got something else. And then, yeah, I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. And I think it's always cool when I find a bit of some sort of media and then it tracks me backwards. And I'm like, oh my God, I would never have done that. But yeah, I think that, and that's also a big problem with a lot of our projects, Dylan, is that try to put too many fucking layers on everything to make it interesting to me only, which is annoying.
Don't get me wrong. I think that shit is really cool, and I would like if I didn't have to have a full-time job in addition to writing, acting in and editing and producing the podcast.
Yeah.
And I had the extra time to do the comic book and to make the wiki for it. Like I've definitely thought of a lot of stuff that we could do that I think would be really interesting spin-off podcasts and everything, video stuff. I do love that stuff. It's just and I don't mind doing the work, but I put so much work into the podcast already that like if I would have to take away from the work that I do on the podcast, like then I would feel bad because that's the thing that I like to do is the podcast.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. And real quick,
Hey.
Diggs BTW7.
Hey, Diggs BTW.
What's up? What's up?
They're not going to try to sell us anything, are they?
I hope so. Honestly, I hope so. I didn't tell you. I went on Instagram, 4 days ago, Dylan? Was it like 3 or 4 days ago? That. For the first time since you were on here, Michael, and when that person was advertising their services. And I must have had, and I finally logged into Instagram, I must have had 60 messages from this person, all with beautifully made art and emojis and emoticons too, which is pretty cool.
So for like your Twitch subscribers, they could have like little, what do they call those, emotes?
Yeah, they could emote things. For this episode, it'd be a toilet, which is perfect.
Would it be a skidibby toilet?
Probably. We're really trying to get that Gen Z.
Yeah. That's like Gen Z loves nothing more than watching guys between 31 and 137 just talking about whatever. Like that's their favorite thing.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know what Skibidi Toilet is, and I do not want to look it up. I'm really scared. The last time I fell for that, scary. It was 2 girls and 1 cup, and I'm not getting back into that. I don't need slang that much. Okay, let's get into what we do with the show. If you guys don't know out there, Dylan and I, we have a show called Talking Upstream, and in that show we have 54-ish episodes. We found some of our favorite creators, some of our favorite podcast makers, our favorite directors, our favorite writers, and we interviewed them, why they do what they do, how they do what they do, and then we would pitch them an idea each, and we would have our guest choose which one of the 2 ideas was cooler, and then together collectively we would kind of work out a scenario in which this project would work. If you look over our YouTube channel, you'll see the Talking Upstream, so many episodes of that. And what we decided to do was, of all these ideas that Dylan and I came up with, which one could be the best? Which one should be worth our time working on? So I decided to put it into a bracket situation where each week, 2 of our ideas would go up against each other, and Mike Colby would choose which one sucks, which one does not deserve any more of our time. He has podcasts that he's editing. He has podcasts that he's writing. He has podcasts that he's voice acting in, and he has podcasts that he's publishing and creating some sort of art for. You think this motherfucker has time to work on some other project? He doesn't. So we got to figure out the best one for us to work on. Now, the randomizer brought up a couple episodes. They brought up number 106, Dylan. That was before we actually had some real guests on. And that was an episode where Poltergeist won. Poltergeist, if you guys don't know, it was the premise that there are nonstop ghosts everywhere. There's ghosts everywhere, and they just want to be reincarnated. The way they get reincarnated is they have to be right there during conception to get their soul to be in the baby, right? So then and I think the way we worked on it, it was going to be like a comic book, and it was like, at like sex workers, there was like just a line of ghosts. They were just all waiting, and there's the delivery place in the hospital, just so many ghosts, and it was following like a 1600s like a Spaniard, and then like a brand new guy. And they were all just kind of waiting in this one house. And it was far away from everything else. And these ghosts are kind of lazy too. So the whole point was You had to get there as soon as copulation or conception happens, and that's what will make ghosts come back as humans, I guess. I thought that was hilarious, and Dylan and I worked on a little bit, and that did win episode 106, which is great. Dylan, do you remember that episode, or do you remember that concept at all?
Vaguely, yes. I don't remember much specific about it.
It was during COVID, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it was in that classic brain fog I can feel coming back.
You're a long hauler.
Let's go. I remember there was like a mentorship idea between like an old ghost who'd been around for a while and a newly dead guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember much.
Well, it was more like we were kind of pitching the premise of it to feel like which one of these characters seemed to be like the window character. Michael, what do you think about this idea?
I don't think you want to know.
No, I do. I definitely do.
I think this sounds really dumb.
Yeah, that's okay. Even the name sounds dumb. I mean, it's a pretty good name, right?
Oh, what was the name again?
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist. I can see that name working for something.
All right.
Probably a sequel to Poltergeist, the Super Nintendo game where you had to scare people out of your. Is that Poltergeist?
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You played as a ghost, and you had to haunt things around the house to scare families out of the house that you were staying in.
So you don't find any value in a bunch of ghosts all fighting to just hop onto people while they're doing it to make sure they get reincarnated? That doesn't sound good to you, Michael, because it seems like something you'd be right into.
It sounds like if you were doing one issue of a comic book, or like a segment in a anthology type movie.
Ooh.
I think it could make a really good short. Like a really good short thing, but the premise seems like something that would wear thin very quickly. You know what I mean?
No, but I hear what you're saying. I aggressively disagree, mostly because this is one of my first ideas, and I thought it was pretty clever. So yeah, you're way wrong.
It's definitely different. It just it seems like it's a very specific thing. That
like I'm talking to my dad. Well, Zach, that's different.
No, I appreciate that it's something that I've never heard of before.
Hell yeah,
I always appreciate something that I've never heard before.
There you go. That's something.
All right.
But yeah.
Well, yeah. Very a smidgen of points on top of Poltergeist. And Dylan, this next one that's come up is from episode 206. This is with Suzanne Johnson and Chris Mulkey. This was some of our like bigger actors that we because they got together and they wrote this really interesting movie, which I did watch. And I believe that it is called, I don't remember right now, actually.
The World Without You?
The World Without You. And I had a great time watching it. But no, we pitched them, and the thing that won, I think it went through a couple titles. One says Lucidity's End.
Yeah.
One is I forget, Mind Altered. But the premise that we have, do you remember this premise, Dylan?
This is the shared dream, the worldwide shared dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you remember any more that we talked about with that? Do you remember? I mean, because
it was like,
you got to give Michael something he does not want to pick.
Yeah, it was several months after humanity experiences like everybody on Earth over the course of a sleep cycle has the same dream about the world ending in the same way, and they all see the same person in it. And then, like 6 months later, which is like 3 months before this end of the world dream is supposed to happen, the girl shows up on someone's like porch in Montana or something.
Yeah, and then a countdown kind of starts. Oh, the perceived countdown.
And we didn't go much past that, I don't think.
No, we did a lot of weird world building to start that one off, and that ran up our time. All right, so Michael, you have this idea of a collective shared dream where the end of the world is coming. There's no real facts to it. There's no real and nothing really says that it's going to happen other than every single person on the planet having this doomsday dream. And then one part of the dream actually happens. How do you feel about that premise, that world setting?
That rules. I love
Oh,
this.
hell yeah.
I love this one.
Oh, all right.
Classic
I-
Dylan idea.
You can say you don't like either of them.
He
No,
did.
no,
He said
no.
he doesn't like mine always.
No,
Well, I mean, both.
I actually when you first started, I didn't like this because I thought it was like it sounded like the way you were explaining it sounded like Ready Player One, except in a dream instead of
Oh,
virtual
sure.
reality.
Oh, no. No.
But once everybody had, I thought everybody was in the same dream. Like,
No.
that would have been super cheesy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everybody having the same dream about an event happening, and then they're trying to stop it, or they're just getting ready to survive it.
I think mostly it was people getting ready to survive it.
Okay.
Yeah, but but then we kind of like I remember thinking it was similar to the idea of like religion, where everyone just kind of believes it,
Mhm.
and there's no real reason to or even to not. It's just like we think this is gonna happen, and I guess it's very similar to like the 2012 kind of stuff, but not like they all had this very vivid dream, and I think that's really interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that sounds really interesting as well. Like that's again a limited a limited type of thing, like a mini series or something like that. I was going to say movie, but I don't think you could do it justice in a movie. I think you would need like
Yeah, you would need some time.
Yes, you would need some
Yeah.
time to fill this out.
Yeah.
But I do think that that's a really fun idea. Much more fun than my dumb everybody's looking for a treasure inside of a dream idea that I originally had.
Yeah. Nah.
Although
I
you
like
could
that
probably
idea.
make more money out of a Ready Player One inside of a dream type thing.
I mean, probably.
So what do you mean by that? Like you have a dream, but it's everyone's like lucid dreaming, and
Yes,
they
everybody's lucid dreaming and inside the same
In-
dream, just
Oh,
like
so
they're
it's-
in the VR world in Ready Player One, but this is
Mhm.
like a dream situation.
Oh, that would be interesting. Is if you finally got to a point where you could lucid dream, but then you're just in a room with everyone else that can lucid dream.
We've done that idea too, kind of.
Well, there was that one idea, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something about Jeff Goldblum being in a dream. Remember that idea? I don't remember exactly what that was, but it was like you actually get to meet Jeff Goldblum like in your dream.
I think we covered that on this show already.
Really?
And I think we immediately dismissed it as like,
Jeff Goldblum goes into Jeff Goldblum's dream, and then everybody has the head of Jeff Goldblum, and all they say is Jeff Goldblum, Jeff
Oh.
Goldblum, Jeff Goldblum, Jeff Goldblum.
That sounds familiar.
it could be a movie called I'm Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
love it.
Being
I
Jeff
love it.
Goldblum.
I hope someone's taking notes on this. Honestly, genuinely, Spike Jonze is one of the coolest directors. Like John Malkovich is so cool, but also Where the Wild Things Are has. Wait, is that not Spike Jonze?
I thought that was Kaufman.
No, I thought it was. So I remember watching that and being like, "Oh, this is obviously a Kaufman thing," and then, oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Spike Jonze directed it. Kaufman wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Spike Jonze also directed Where the Wild Things Are. And I feel like that movie is aggressively underrated. I think that movie has so much heart to it for being like a very dumb book. But I think Spike Jonze is a very good and underrated director. Also Sabotage from the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
You can't beat
That's
that.
maybe the best music video of all time.
Listen up, y'all.
No, the Christopher Walken
The Fatboy Slim video,
Fatboy
that's
Slim.
good, but I actually watched that recently and I'm like, yeah, this is good, but that Sabotage video is
that is true.
incredible.
That is better. All right, so Michael, you have the idea of everyone having the same doomish dream, and then the world building within that versus probably a superior product, which is Poltergeist, where ghosts line up and they try to get into the business.
perhaps if the poltergeist thing was a little bit more fleshed out and I had more to grab onto.
Yeah.
Right now, it just seems a little bit thin.
Yeah, so many ghost
make a
puns.
whole
What are you
series
doing? It's wispy. Your idea is wispy.
It needs a little bit more meat on the bone.
Yeah. It's pretty ethereal as far as
yeah.
it's ephemeral.
It's
they both work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
fair.
ghost of an idea.
Yeah, I think when I was working on that, I was trying to draw it, and it was very funny.
Oh,
while I was drawing it.
I think that's what I need. I think I need the visual.
Yeah, I mean, just
if it was drawn in a very specific way, it would be very, very funny.
Yeah,
because like depending on the set, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it,
you get it.
Depending on like the way that the sex stuff is censored, not like censored, but like in that like Austin Powers way. Or like the Simpsons way when they're blocking out nudity.
Sure.
Like that would be very funny. All right. You've sold me on Poltergeist.
Hey.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. I don't think it wins.
The other one is like, man, you could get into some shit with the lucid dream, like everybody having the same dream.
Yeah.
And then like even I'm thinking about an ending where like, if you see the people's dreams, you see parts of the people who are dreaming their dream, and then like it all gets to one point and then the event happens and then the world ends but the end of the series would be when they get right to that place before the event ends, and then it just is black and you don't know if it happens or not. Like I can see that being.
That sounds I feel like I've seen something like that. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I like it. That's how I'd do it. I feel like I've seen something do that before.
I would, if something has done that, put it in the comments, because I would want to consume whatever that media was that did that.
I think The Leftovers kind of did that in the last episode where they're like, isn't this supposed to happen again? And then they cut, but then they go into a time skip. So like,
no, you're thinking of Sopranos.
Oh yeah, where the world ends.
Right before the world ends.
Oh right, that's right.
And Journey plays.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here without you, baby.
How did you possibly get that song?
Because he's drinking alone at the bar, isn't he?
No, he's with his family.
No, he's in a restaurant with his family.
He's in a diner with his kids and his wife.
I thought he was like, "Hey, I'm Tony Soprano. I'm drinking alone."
Hey, I'm Tony Soprano. I'm here without
Tony
you, baby.
Soprano alone. He pronounces it Sopranolone, though.
Oh God! I knew I should have cut this show earlier. All right, so it seems like Michael, it seems like you're choosing Lucidity's End. I think that's what we originally called it, whatever. But the idea of the shared dream to do.
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
I think I am.
And
but now
that
the more I think about it, let me draw these ghosts and people
exactly
like, standing around while people are fucking.
You think about an old, like a dude from like the Spanish Inquisition who's been hanging around the same woman for like 30 years, and he keeps like somebody keeps jumping the line, and he's really upset about it. He's
somebody who's more young and spry.
Exactly, just a better not so wispy ghost just gets in there and just and pals down, And the thing is, like, you can go to a brothel, right? But there's a lot of ghosts there. That's where you would think ghosts would be. But you got to get to that old farmhouse, like the old Mormons, when they have like 90 kids, and you're like,
you don't want to go to a brothel though, because I think most of those women are like not having babies, right? Like they're making sure.
Not in Trump's America.
Yeah. But yeah, like now, like as I'm thinking about it as a visual medium rather than just like the
no, this is not a podcast. No,
this has the opportunity to have some very funny really, really funny visuals to it.
I agree. I think you could show so many different types of sex and then so many different kinds of ghosts just staring and waiting.
Some
And like
dumb guy
and it's
at,
not
some dumb guy like at a gay guy's house, like waiting.
like I just keep mistiming this one. I just keep mistiming
I
because
don't
they gotta jump onto it right at the right moment. So if you're early, you just fall through the bed, no big deal. But if you're right on time, you're a baby.
That's yeah. You know what? That's fucking funny. I'm sold on this idea. You have sold me.
I wasn't even trying to sell it. I personally was like, no, Dylan's idea was actually better anyway.
I mean, I think the idea is more transferable, like that lucid, like the doomsday dream. Like I'm with that every step of the way. I'm like, okay, yeah, you can do this and this and this, and this is how you would do this, and this is how you do this, and like I can see it coming together. The ghost baby thing is such piecemeal that it's taking my brain a little bit to put it together.
Yeah,
I think that'll be for when we are like rich enough to have time to do weird side projects.
Yeah, or we have enough money to put it on Fiverr and get somebody to make it for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning. It's like I got to get enough money where I can pay someone to do the things that I want to do, but don't want to do it. Yeah. All right. Cool. So either one of those wins. But what, Dylan? What's your vote for?
Don't ask me to vote again.
We need your vote, Dylan.
Do what's right. Do what's right.
Or third party.
Do what you know is in your heart. And
the third party idea. So this is the one where Michael Colby randomly just pitches us a new idea that beats their two.
Yeah, come on, Michael.
I'm still waiting for on this show my David Spade, Chris Farley's corpse Weekend at Bernie's idea to come up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that should be coming up pretty soon on the randomizer. Let me just quickly take a note.
I also, let me quickly add it to the randomizer. No,
yeah.
I actually, I've been thinking about the episode that me and Matt were on, where the lady gets taken away to hell during a magic trick, and then the magician died.
Dude, that's like, a good one.
I've been thinking about that, and I'm like, man, that would be so good. Like that would make such a good movie.
I friggin' love that idea. What do we call that, Dylan?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember whose idea that was, but like,
Zach.
We filled that thing out to a point where I was like, I would go see this movie in a second. Like, this is a good movie.
No, I agree. I think that I completely forgot about that idea. 100%. But once you start talking, I'm like, oh my God, I remember everything about this. That was such a cool, that was really cool. Although, honestly, the David Spade Weekend at Bernie's with Farley's body is...
Was that the first one we had you on, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I know I've had that idea in my head since Chris Farley died.
Yeah.
And the further it gets away from his death, I think the funnier it gets.
Yeah.
Not only because comedy equals tragedy plus time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to make fun of Chris Farley's death. Like, that's not the point of that idea.
No, but there is a gross body in that car.
The body is so gross. And the fact that nobody notices is so funny to me.
Yeah, because they're just so happy to see him again.
Yes. But it's just David Spade with the body tied to him like a Weekend at Bernie's.
But
I
just
think
doing
Weekend
Tommy
at
Boy
Bernie's,
material too.
Weekend at Bernie's is such a great idea. Like, I think that is one of the funniest premises for anything ever.
Yeah. No, you're right. It is S tier level content. Like, the idea of just moving a dead body around is grossly funny.
It's so weird and gross and hilarious. Like,
and depending on the body, it can get so much funnier.
Yes. I think that's but yeah, death dream lucid
Cool.
death spiral, I think.
Hell yeah.
But let me draw some ghosts and
some
fucking...
very patiently waiting ghosts.
Yeah.
And tell me that this is not the best thing you've ever done.
No, I'm again, I was against this idea at first. The more I think about it, I'm really coming around.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of this. If you want more poop content, check out some of our other stuff. We got a lot of stuff out there. Some of it has poop jokes in it. I think.
Or you can just
or
wear out the VHS of my favorite movie.
A Serbian film.
Oh God!
What
was the name of my favorite movie that you showed the poop scene from?
Accident Man, obviously.
Accident Man. I love it so much. From what, 2019?
Accident Man was from 2016. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely. They were still putting stuff out on VHS.
Yeah, you've been wearing out VHSs since at least 2016, from what I can remember. Michael Colby, where can people find you or hear anything that you want them to hear?
If you are watching this live today, of all days, the new episode of Jack Billings Presents has dropped in the free feed. If you're a patron, you've been able to hear it for about a month now. But since you're statistically not a patron, you can hear it today. If you've never heard of Jack Billings before, or if you've heard me talk about it before and you looked it up on your podcast app and you said, there's 250 episodes of this, I'm not going to watch this, or I'm not going to listen to this. Make no mistake, you can start from this episode and go forward, and you will understand everything that's happening. And then if you want to go back. But or if you've tried Jack Billings Presents before and you were like, I can't listen to Jack, you have months before Jack shows up.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good, and we're using Jack in a more limited capacity this season.
What's your Patreon?
Patreon.com/Jack Billings.
Jack Billings. Hell yeah.
Everybody, we have $1 to $7 tiers, and everybody gets access to all of the premium stuff. So
hell yeah.
That's ad free. I know Acast is starting to put ads in their stuff soon. So that'll be ad free. You don't even get the network ads if you listen to the Patreon feed. But either that, or you can, if you're a fan of Some Nobodies, you remember the show No Time to Binge. It was us three and then B Highland. And B and I do a separate show called This Bizarre Adventure, where we go episode by episode through JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I might be a little bit prejudiced, but I think it's a delightful show. And I think everybody will like it. It started off as a pretty straightforward show where people just watch a show. And now it has evolved into something much, much stranger.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
B's energy is always great.
Oh,
but something happens to them when JoJo is in the air.
Oh my god.
So I can only imagine how much fun you guys must be having.
I love B so much. Yeah. B is one of my favorite people I've ever talked to. And yeah, you can definitely tell in the show that we get along famously.
Oh yeah. Dylan, do you have anything to say for anybody?
No. I'm not even going to pause before it this week. No, I got nothing.
Don't pause. People, they love it. They love your interest in not being interesting in some things, which is great. Everybody, we have a lot of shows. No Time to Binge, PowerPoint Showdown, which still the idea of that makes me laugh so much. Talking Upstream, Twitching Upstream. We have a Patreon too, patreon.com/somenobodies. We do a bunch of stuff. We would like some help to make more stuff. So help us out if you want to. If not, have a great day.
Yeah.
Until then, this is all I got. I didn't realize I'd still be on stream for that. Let's go to that.